What's up, fellow lords of gaming, and welcome back to another episode of Marvel Future Fight. And let's jump right on in. So today what I wanted to do is review Miles Morales' uniform for the game. So let's take a look and jump right on in. So immediately off the bat, I want to address some simple concerns about the character, and that is essentially when you look at his uniform skill increases. We'll take a look at those here in a second. You're gonna notice that there's very minor improvements to the character, meaning like what they've changed about him from his previous uniform to now is not a whole lot from what his anniversary uniform is. Even weirder is that when they compare some of his new skills, like his passives and stuff like that, they don't really compare them to his current the anniversary uniform. They actually compare it to his original uniform. That's the really weird part. So like if you were to read the notes, we can look at his skill set inside of here, and they're comparing the new skill Combat Sense passive not to his previous uniform, but they're comparing it to his all new, all different original uniform. So like for instance, if you go inside here, you'll notice that Ultimate Spider-Man is one of his skills inside of here, and the skill is compared, his new skill is compared to this skill, not his newest skill. So it's like weird because we get Villain Extermination as his new skill, and the original one, this one being Ultimate Spider-Man, was what's granted here. So we get an increased guaranteed dodge rate of 25, which was there in the original uniform. We get increased basic damage dealt to supervillains for 120, and then we get increased skill damage by 32 and 25, and now it's 35 and 30 respectively. The same thing when we look at his Combat Sense skill with his Combat Sense passive, Where's that one at? So that was Ultimate Spider-Man, was replacing Envenom attack. That's what they compare it to. The original skill basically only granted you increase of all speeds by 7. Now it does ignore target's dodge rate by 25 and decrease basic damage received by 15. So if you go back into his newest uniform for the anniversary special and you look at those skills, you get Villain Extermination. This is what was already there. It's like we had this skill. Nothing's changed here from his anniversary uniform to this uniform. It's almost like as if though the uniform doesn't exist, right? You go inside here and you look at bioelectrical enhancement, and it was already there at ignore target's dodge rate by 25, and we get a little bit it was increased lightning damage by 20%. Now it's decreased basic damage received by 15%. There's not like a whole lot in terms of changes there, right? Now, even more interesting is that if we were to compare the individual skills, Web Shot now becomes Swing Attack. Nothing really changes here at all. Agile Strike, essentially the same skill. Biovenom Strike now is still the same as well. We get a little bit of a bonus inside the all basic attack and defense by 45. And then we get a boost in the crit rate to 30. The 5% all speed still stay the same, so like minor uptick, right? Acrobatic attack is now Venom Shock. He pretty much keeps the majority of everything the same here. The only difference, there's no difference here actually. There's a little bit of an uptick in terms of his no, actually I didn't realize that. There's a downtick in terms of his lightning damage that's being done here, because instead of getting 180, he gets 100. Spider Spin is now replaced by Spider Invasion, and he gains Fracture on this skill, but by and large, everything else is still the same. The recovers 20% HP. He also gains Invincible and loses out on Barrier, but he gets a little bit of uptick in the lightning damage as well. So it's very minute changes for the character overall. So in that regard, I can kind of agree with Beast Mode Gaming with those minor changes. Like those minor changes, if you were just comparatively saying like, hey, I have this uniform already. Do I need to purchase this uniform for Miles Morales? No, you don't. You could probably get by with this uniform and go to level 80, go to tier 4, and you won't have a problem. Now, I think what Beast Mode was pointing out is that Miles is also a victim of his own success. With these minor tweaks, he was already a good character at tier 3. He was great at tier 3 for use. So how much more are you going to get out of him with these small minor tweaks inside of the inside of the places where you are going to use him, like World Boss Legend? Probably not a whole lot in significance. And like I said, he was already clearing some of the various high levels of World Boss Legends without tier 4 and without the uniform that he has now. And this uniform doesn't look like it's going to be poised to really alter and change him all that much. So I can understand why he's like, hey, I don't really need the uniform, or if you're a free-to-play player, the uniform could be a skip. I don't disagree about that. Right now, I do disagree in the point that, like, hey, you're playing a tomb collector, so like it is about the uniforms. But this is why I keep advocating for the fact that we need characters uniforms that are not tied to the power of the character, and these should be more cosmetic items with transmog systems behind them, so that way we can just mix and match uniforms on the character, and the buffs that come to a character just based on the buffs that the developers want to give to the characters to keep them in line with what the game is going, and they just keep developing those instead of us paying for these new buffs to the characters. I think that there is some concern there that they have to basically put out some kind of new uniforms and get money from basically doing those, or pay people. If there's not new power increases, then people won't pay for the buffs. Me personally, I don't really pay for the uniforms simply because of the buffs. Does it help? Yes, but I really pay for the uniforms because of the different VFX and skill animations. I kind of look at it the way I kind of looked at like when we played Marvel Heroes Omega. What I was really antsy about for getting a new uniform was the new VFX and, you know, SFX options that the uniform brought, more so than the individual power increases. Because the interesting part behind this is that a lot of the power increases are things that happen behind the scene. They don't necessarily have to be tied to the character. So I don't know, it's like different like that. Like it does come into different places, because like, for instance, Absolute Carnage, the skills change significantly enough because you're like, it's a different skill set and power. So I get it, right? Like I'm changing this overall, the VFX are changing as well. Like if I look at the skills inside of here, it's not the same skills that, you know, you had previously to that. The power levels might be somewhat the same, but this character changes up just a little bit. Now, does that happen for every character? Probably not, but more or less they need to figure out that system, because as you go through, I think you will have more players who are in the mind frame of, like, you know, beast mode, where it's like, hey, if you're going to create uniforms like this within this short time span, there's real no reason for you to jump in. So now the biggest place that I have a problem with the uniform isn't having to do with anything with the way the uniform looks or whether or not I wouldn't purchase it, is the uniform options. So not a whole lot of great uniform options here. I try to judge the uniform options a little bit differently, because I just try to look at them and keep them in retrospect of like, hey, this is the best uniform for this character. So if you're coming in the game at this point, is that the best uniform for that character? Going behind these uniforms, not so much. So like Ebony Maw, this is the best uniform for Ebony Maw, but you end up in a really big pickle with Ebony Maw because of how you're gonna have to level him up. So this is gonna cost you a pretty penny to level up this option. You get into Gamora, it's not a big movement, it's free to play. However, nobody's going to be picking up Gamora Requiem as they come into the game right now. More than likely, they're going to be picking up Gamora's Guardians of the Galaxy 3 uniform, which is a better uniform for her overall anyways. So this becomes a wasted uniform option. Then we get over to Wave Classic uniform. It is the best uniform option for her. However, the problem is, where do you obtain that uniform for her? Well, you can only obtain this uniform from Heroic Quest, or rather, excuse me, her bios. You can only obtain from Heroic Quest, which means that you have to basically pay 750 crystals to get to her bios option, so that way you can level up this uniform. Otherwise, you pay the $39.99 for basically leveling up the character. That presents a bit of a problem, because now you're putting an additional cost on the Miles Morales uniforms. For me to maximize the bits out of it, I got to either pay $30.99, or I probably got to pay at least 1,500 crystals to get enough bios, so that way I can level Wave's uniform all the way up and get the most out of the HP upgrade here. Carnage, it's a good uniform. It's his best uniform. I think it's a really amazing looking uniform as well. So I see a lot of people who are Carnage fans purchasing it. He's also a tier 4 character. So that's going to make him a tier 4 combat character nonetheless. So that's going to make him very appealing to a lot of players. He's also very, very useful inside PvP. So if you're a PvP player, then you're more likely going to want to have Carnage on your team. And in that respect, it's another good uniform option buy. However, this is the same problem with Wave. Instead of having a crystal wall character, we now get a paywall character, and basically getting this uniform all the way to Mythic, so that way you get the bonuses out of it, is basically another $40. Unless you buy like the monthly bio deals and stuff like that and get your Carnage bios that way. So you run into a really big problem in a Steam wall with, at the very least, 2 of Miles Morales' uniforms. Now here goes where we get a little bit even worse. So we get Wolverine into the Phoenix, and normally I would typically say, hey, this is a great uniform for Wolverine, all right? It's probably his best uniform right now, not all that great. But the problem is we just got a data leak from Cho that basically said, you know, data mine from Cho that said, hey, you know what, we're probably getting a Wolverine uniform here sometime soon. And that's where we run into the problem. So if I had to look at these uniform options overall, I would probably say you're batting maybe a 1 out of 5, 2 out of 5 at best in terms of uniform options, because you're looking at least 1500, 15 plus 40, so you're looking at $55 here alone worth of additional cost to Miles Morales' uniform. So you essentially get a $65 uniform that, you know, if you're a free-to-play player, that becomes a really bit of a slosh for a uniform that you might already have. You know what I mean? Like, looking at this uniform, it definitely has better options overall. So I agree, if you're a free-to-play player, this uniform might be a really hard skip, because it could be a very costly uniform for you to be able to maximize and get everything out of, as compared to the anniversary uniform that was already there. So it was like, if you had the anniversary uniform, you don't really need to do this one. If you don't have the anniversary one, then go ahead and pick that one up. Really weird the way they did the uniform overall. I'm still not disappointed in the uniform. Now let's take a look at the skills, so that way you can see what is really in here. Now I give the team credit, because I can see why they want to net their money back from the uniform, right? Like, let's turn off the skill displays over here. I can see why they want to net their money back on the uniform. And this is one of the things that I think a lot of players take for granted when they play a lot of games in general, especially mobile games, is the time and effort that goes into creating SFXs and VFXs for characters. Those things cost money, right? So what I want to do is I'm going to turn on the skill SFXs, so that way you can see those, right? So let's start off with his first skill. Nice skill, really quick skill inside there. Gets a nice couple of hits on there. So if you split 45 by 3, you essentially get 15 hits on a character inside there. The lightning effects, however, look absolutely amazing. In my opinion, he's got some invincibility at the beginning of the skill, and then at the end of the skill when he lands. So in his attacks, he should be good. I have noticed that Miles gets guard broken quite a bit, however. So then we go into his second skill. It looks absolutely amazing. He's only got the iframe in the middle of the skill. You notice it's not there in the beginning. So that's going to leave him open to interruption, is basically what I'm saying. Because like, looking at this skill right here, I want you to pay attention. It's just got web and it's got silence on it. But that web and that silence ain't going to apply to world bosses. So nice skill overall, don't dislike it. It's got a lot of flashy effects on it. So then we go into his third skill. Miles jumps up in the air. You notice that there wasn't a whole lot of iframes on that skill either, right? And then when you pull up the skill, you can see there's shock inside of there, but shock's not the skill that, you know, necessarily is like everything you want to get, but it provides the buff. So the buff is literally gonna, you know, you've got that 45, 5, and 30. So that's going to literally give you your main buff that you want to roll. This is how you can tell that we're basically going for that frenzy buff to the next skill. So 5 inside of here for the skill looks really amazing. It has the fracture on the skill, and it has the all defense down with the 20% HP recovery. Now I wish that this skill had way more recovery of HP, because you're going to notice it ain't that great, man. Like, to be honest with you, he needs a little bit of more heal on that skill. it's not that great. His fourth skill is inside of here. I was like, yo, this dude's really fast. How fast is he supposed to be? Because he kind of looks like Makari zipping around on a screen. You see some moments inside of there where you can see him, but man, he is really zooming around a skill. So the practice combo, really simple. Rotation for Miles, we've got 3, 5, and then 4. Can't mess that up. His tier 3 is available for him. It's just 6, 3, 5, and then 4. I kind of failed it just because I slow rolled that one inside there. And then his when his tier 4 skill is up, it's just 7, 6. What the freak? I don't know what is going on with my Miles today, but it's like it's weird. Like he's getting. I don't get what's going on, but I noticed this when I was playing with him earlier, is that I seem to get a delay in the skills actually triggering. See that? Like it just stopped for some reason. I'm not exactly sure what's going on there. Like it's weird. It's rotating through in just the weirdest of ways. There's no delay cancels really in his skills. As you can see from the beginning, reset combo right here is just 3, 5, and then 4. That's it. So I don't know what the freak is going on. But really simple combo rotations. That's it. You go back into these, and then it's just 6, 3, 5, 4. Messed up and pressed that. Oh well. And then back to this one again, and we'll go 7, 6, 3, 5, 4. Mess it up again. Don't know how I'm doing it. So that's the skills overall inside there, right? So I think the skills overall look absolutely amazing and incredible. And I think there's something to be said about the VFX on a skill, or excuse me, the SFX on a skill and the VFX on a skills as well. There's not really any voiceover effects voicing in the character at all. Uniform options could be much to be bothered about. I have equipped my Miles out complete, kitted him out for with some Odin's blessings because I really like the character. He's one of my favorites. I've definitely boosted him up in type enhancement, given power angry hulks on him, and no artifacts, custom gear. I've given him a CTP of judgment to help out with those chain hits that he's going to be getting, and also the all damage, element damage for his lightning attacks inside of there. Now you can look at my character details and you can tell that I've got pretty maxed out on cards for what I'm getting over there. ESO 8s, and then you can see gear, and then my swords as well. I haven't really played around with swords in a while to kind of boost them. They are what they are, and it is what it is, but he's maxed out in all the stats that he needs to be maxed out in. Now Miles is I do have a bit of a problem with Miles. Like, let's take him for a run inside World Boss really quickly. I'm gonna play Ultron instead of and the problem that I essentially have with Miles is that he does seem to be guard broken quite a bit. So Spider-Man is not gonna really provide me anything. Like, his leadership is there, but he doesn't really provide me anything. So we'll pop Spider-Man out, and we'll pop in. Where did she go? Where'd she go? Okay. Yeah, I think that's who we want to pop in. There we go. Yeah, we'll pop her in, and then I think he still gives. Yeah, Spider Sense Alice. So this is who we'll play with inside here. So we'll pop that in, right? Because Spider-Man is not really doing anything, and since he's here, he's not really providing anything to Spider-Man anymore either. So let's go with that. We'll go with this team that I have here, which is just ignore targets. Actually, you know what? I think nah, we'll go with that team. Yeah, so it's just a bunch of decreased basic damage received, and we'll see how this works out with now I play at level 2 for most of my world bosses, just because the rewards, as I've said plenty of times, they don't change whether I'm playing on level stage 2 or whether I'm playing on stage 50. It doesn't really make a difference. So once I usually hit like a raid level for each of the bosses, that's when I usually start trying to push the character tiers, and you know, just to make it a little bit easier on myself instead of like grinding. I only play like an hour a day or something like that. So really simple rotations inside here. So, you know, 3, 5, and then 4 with Miles. Let's see what damage looks good, right? 1. We'll move around because I don't want him to get hit. 3, 5, and then 4. And we get my man down to 8, 3, 5, and then 4. And it's over, right? That's it. Like, can't complain about that, right? Can't complain about that. Really simple character. Took me all of like 28 seconds to basically beat him. Now I'm gonna promise you this though, right? So just like you can see what I'm saying, like these are the rewards that I'm basically getting for that inside here. I didn't get any daily rewards because I don't do this, right? Miles was always good. He was good at tier 3, and trust me, you can like 28 seconds to basically beat him on stage 2. You can take him into higher tiers. Now I'm gonna promise you this, right? Not every run with Miles will go as smoothly as that will go, because a lot of times Miles will get interrupted inside of his skills depending on what you're doing, and it becomes like a pain in the head. So like I'm looking to see what his power increase is overall when he gets to level 80, because I won't be able to tier 4 him for a little while. And what I mean by is I just tier 4'd Adam Warlock, and so if I was to look at this character overall and my materials, I don't really have enough materials to basically bank a roll on Miles to basically get it. I don't care Spider-Gwen is coming, right? I don't care that, you know, Wolverine is coming. I'm basically, you know, looking at the characters, and I've said this to players time and time again. You can play Keeping Up with the Joneses on YouTube all you want to, and you'll lead yourself to disappointment. I don't have the roster that people like, you know, Cynic Alex, Beast Mode Gaming, Free to Play, Adventures, and stuff like that have, because I tier 4 the characters that I like. Every character that I have tier 4 is a character that I like. Like, I like these characters, which means that they are part of my daily rotations for different game modes that I play. I don't play to the meta. And I say that to say something to you guys. If you're trying to keep up with these players who are receiving, you know, in some regard, shape or form, you know, monetary benefits from content creating for the characters, and therefore able to invest back into the game to play these characters, and you're trying to keep up with them, you're gonna hurt your own wallet and you're gonna hurt your own joy and entertainment, because you just can't do it. Even me, I can't keep up with Cynic Alex. I can't keep up with Beast Mode. I can't keep up with Forgo. I can't keep up with all these great content creators who put out stuff there. I don't have that kind of YouTube subscription base, so I really play my game as if though I was a mini dolphin, a mini whale, pay to play player, not a free to play player. But every character that I have tier 4, these are characters that I consistently play, with the exception of Iron Man. Iron Man's never been really one of my favorite characters, but I need, of all the Blast characters that were available at the time when they were there, because I would have probably much preferred to have tier 4 Magneto or Professor X. He was the one that was available there. Storm was pretty trashy. She's still not that great. So I didn't tier 4 her, because otherwise she would have been there. But these are the characters that I tend to like when I read comic books, when I watch Marvel movies. These are the characters I like. Miles Morales is one of those characters for me as well, so he'll be one of those characters that I will tier 4. I'm happy that we got a data mine that says Wolverine, Sabretooth, and Gwenpool are coming. I'll get Gwenpool to level 80 every day of the week. No problem with Spider-Gwen getting level 80, but she's not going to beat out my Miles Morales in terms of like, hey, I really want to, you know, get that character. And if you were to look at my roster, she probably should, because having a female speed character would be much more beneficial for me than having an additional speed male. But I don't play the game like that. I didn't T4 Black Widow because I don't like Black Widow. I'm not going to want to play with her on a day-to-day basis. I'm not going to want to see her in my rotation on a day-to-day basis. So I need a female speed character, but do I need a female speed character? No, not really. So I'll get around to leveling up those characters at some point. Do I need a Blast female? Sure, I need a Blast female, but I liked Adam Warlock a lot more than I liked Sharon Rogers. So I'm going to level characters that I like, not characters that I need for the meta, but characters that I like, so that way I don't get burnt out on this game and feel like I have to drop it. It's the way I've played the game for 7+ years. As I've played the game now, it's the way I'll probably continue to play it as long as that it's around. I level up characters that I choose to, that I like, and that's what I do. And then I just keep it moving, and that way I can have fun and enjoy those characters. I think you should take the same stance. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Sorry it ran a little bit long. You can make these a little bit quicker. Until next time, peace.